Okay. So now we have seen that he has hostility towards the poets, but in general, when the question is asked, it is asked hostility towards art. So we can include that point also in it, because art is taken in a collective way. But his attack on poetry is the separate question. So we can accumulate some points in this part also. So before starting this, let's see what is art. So art is anything that is creative with imaginative skill to enhance its beauty and to we can't master it in one go. We have to do practice and need a desired skill to mastery over it, and that skill could be achieved only when we do practice. So art is also a very creative skill that has to be taken into consideration. Now there are different types of arts. Drawing, where we draw by using pencil and colors on canvas, and we put our imagination come alive. Then is the sculpture, is the basic art form from ancient times, which enable us to make our work speak, and like the famous Mohenjo-daro, Ajanta Ellora sculptures that you are all familiar. Then we are familiar with this masterpiece. Yes, this is the famous Mona Lisa painting by Leonardo da Vinci, and its authenticity is still a question. That is his enigmatic smile. So this is the art of painting. Though what I am showing is not the real one, it is the copy of the copy of the copy, and I don't know what that. But the real, the authentic piece that still lays in the some museum, their enigmatic smile is very, very much questionable. Then is the photography, which has recently paced way and is growing on a tremendous rate. Now is the literature. This is the very old form of art since ancient civilizations. It is through this art that the history of all forms, that is whatever history is there, whether in science, in maths, in psychology, whatever field is there, it is known to us through this literature. But we are particularly concerned with our own English literature that we are there. Now, what were the Plato's views of art? Plato view literature as an art. That is obvious, because it is also art. It needs skill, it needs enhancement, and it needs practice. So he viewed literature as an art. It is intimately bound up with what is called his theory of ideas. So according to him, literature of all kind is an art and is full of various ideas. He says that ideas are the ultimate reality. It is because that whatever is written, it is written by the writer from his own perception, his own ideas. He conceived them ideas before they take practical shape as things. Means that before the things written in black and white, they appear as ideas in the mind of the writer. And art is the shaper of character. And in his ideal state, he particularly focused on this very fact that whatever is the art form, it should shape the character of the scholars, shape the character of the citizen to mold in a better society. So whatever is written will be read and will be reflected in the society by our readers, the young generation. So art shaped the character of a society. Now, here also we have the theory of mimesis, but here I have a little elaboration of it. It is the outcome of transcendental reality, that is of supernatural. Arts are imitative or mimetic in nature. Because for Plato, art was an untruthful expression or representation of reality. The artist was not only imitating the imperfect objects of this world, but he is also pretending to know the things which he or she actually does not know or does not understand. So they are just mimicking or imitating the things. He wrote in Republic that ideas are the ultimate reality. That is the idea. The basic thing that comes in one's mind is the true form of work. Art is not in the original form. So whatever the artist is doing, it is not original. It takes the man away from reality rather than towards it. When a copy copies an original, it is twice removed from a reality. He has developed this argument with reference to painter. So when a painter does not make a bed, but he copies the idea of the bed made by the carpenter and paints it on a canvas. So moreover, he is adding his creativity in it, which is not real. So they are imitating a copy or copying the copy of original without understanding it, and is thus twice removed from reality. Now, to explain it further, that how is art twice removed from reality or an illusion? This is also sometimes question asked in the paper in such a way. So things are conceived as ideas before they take practical shape. So idea is original and the thing is copy of that idea. Means to say that whatever one thinks of to create is the idea which is in the original form in the mind, and when it is implemented it is the copy of that originality. So it is the first step. Carpenter's chair is the result of the idea of chair in his mind. So the chair, it was not made like that. First an idea came into the mind and then the chair was made. The carpenter thought of something to sit on, shaped that idea in the form of a chair, and so the outcome was the beautiful chair that he made. Thus, the chair is once removed from reality, but painter's chair is imitation of carpenter's chair. So it is twice removed from reality. Thus, artist deals in illusion. So this explains that in the first step, the idea of a chair comes in mind, which is real. Secondly, the making of the chair by the carpenter, giving shape to the idea, is the first imitation or imitation in the first step. Thirdly, when a painter tries to paint the picture of that carpenter's chair, it is the second imitation or the copying the copy of carpenter. Thus, is twice removed from reality. So artists take men away from reality rather than towards it. Thus, artist deals in illusion. They are copying the copy, making illusion of it. Now, this is called the Platonic idealism. Now, what is that? It can be well understood by a following way. That first, the idea of a chair, where in the mind of the person or in the mind of the creator, and in this case, it's the mind of the carpenter. Okay, and this is the ideal concept. Then is the real chair, made by whom? Made by the carpenter, based on his idea in his mind. So this is the reality, the natural phenomena. Now then comes the representation of a chair. By whom? By the artist. And this representation, the work of art, is the imitation of what has been done. So representation gave form to this thing. So representation was from reality, that is a real chair, which in turn was from idea, that is idea of the chair. Thus, representation, the artist's work, was twice removed from reality. And according to Plato, idea was the ultimate reality or the ultimate truth. So therefore, he gave carpenter's example to prove it. Now, what was his objection on arts? His objections are based on ontological objections, that is dealing with nature, epistemological, that is the theory of knowledge, and morality, obviously, it is everywhere. He is criticizing it. Now, on ontological objection, art is imitation, that is mimesis, that we have already discussed. Art imitates the world as it appears, not the world as it. So it is very much clear that the example of carpenter's chair, and also that the artist put his own idea of creativity while making that thing. Art is a copy of a particular object, which are themselves copies of higher things. That means representation is the copy of real, which is in turn is a copy of idea. Art is the realm of images and illusion. So art created by artist through his work of imagination, his creativity. The function of art is to deceive from reality towards illusion, that is from the forms towards images. So the creativity of an artist is the imitation, it is not the true form. Now look at this picture. In the first case, the beauty of nature is there. It is the form of beauty which is already present. Now from where it came? Obviously, the creator thought of this beauty to give to the world. So he thought to give the world this beauty. And this concept of beauty came into his mind. Now, this idea reflected upon him. This concept of beauty is the idea which reflected upon him. The first stage. Then he created beautiful individual entities on earth. So these are the beautiful entities on the earth. So his idea were copied and he gave them the form to them. So this is the second stage. Now later on, the artist copied the idea and imitations of beautiful entities were made in the form of paintings, photos, reflections, shadows, and sculptures and whatnot. So to say that the artist copied the copy of creator to form his own creativity, it is not the true form. He must have put his own creativity. Something must have been deleted from here and he is put on his there. So his own piece of art is made in this way. So in a way they are taking us away from reality. So you can see this is the reality and we are taken away from reality to here. So it is not the truth, it is the illusion. As it is shown that it is the illusion, this is the beauty and this is the illusion, this is not the truth. So on epistemological objection, Plato says that the work of art does not give us any knowledge of the world, or to say that it is merely for pleasure's sake and not for giving any knowledge. The poet is not giving any knowledge. He just writing down his emotions, pen downing his emotions to make us feel elated. The artists do not know what they are doing. So they are only creating whatever comes into their mind and put in their creativity, make a copy of things already copied, as we have seen the example in the last slide. So they're just copying the copy and not giving any new idea in that. Art appeals to the senses and to the desire for pleasure rather than to reason and the desire for knowledge. So a piece of art is always appealing to our eyes, our mind, to our souls. We are least bothered about the message it conveys. Like if we look at the painting, we will admire its beauty, its color, contrast, or of course the artist's creativity, his skill, his representation. We will never focus on what he wants to convey. Although exceptions are there, but in majority cases, we will least bother about the message he is conveying, for what purpose he has made this thing. In fact, there will be no message at all. He has created his piece of art out of his fantasy, out of his love to paint or to draw. So there's no knowledge rested upon it. Now, on moral objection, he says that the man is always in search of knowledge, and to gain it has continuously strive hard for it. And so knowledge gain should do some good to him. But if any art or work of art could not fulfill this, then it is immoral, as it will not cause any change in man's thoughts. And art seems to focus on the flaws of human. Like I said that in during that time, Homer and Hesiod, they wrote some work where they showed gods and heroes in a poor light and with moral infirmities and something even savagery. So such examples are not conducive to the formation of worthy character. It will cause a negative impact to the society. And also that art appeals to our souls, so to such an extent that we sometimes feel a part of it and we fraternize ourselves as that character. So and the goodness of the hero or the work of the art should be there. It should not make bad copies that would produce a negative effect on the national character. And moreover, if we are present our great heroes dead in the end, it will create a fear in the mind of young generation to see such a fate, and they will become weak in their mind, and obviously that will be reflected in their work. Now he propounded two theories of art. One is art is imitation. This concept was found in his dialogue Republic, and it is the theory that Plato believes himself, that he believed in the theory of mimesis, and he says that art imitates the objects and events of ordinary people. So according to theory, it is for art is always a copy of a copy, and we can't say that it is the reality. And for this reason, as well as because he has the power, the art has the power to stir the emotions, art is dangerous because they are feeding our emotions. And in other words, that it is more of an illusion than in ordinary experience. So on this theory, work is best entertainment and worst dangerous delusion. So it is a misapprehension of the work that will lead to some dangerous circumstances in the society. Now his other theory is art is powerful and therefore dangerous. So this theory was propagated in Ain and crafted in Symposium. So according to this theory, that artists should be have divine inspiration and they should act like prophet, means that they should give virtues only and should not be vices should be reflected. So virtue has an equivalence to knowledge. So on the one hand, we can say art is a copy, imitation, but on the other hand, it is a divine inspiration. An artist is like a prophet doing good. Now to conclude, we can say that Plato had a love-hate relationship with arts. So he himself was a poet on one hand, but he criticizes the artist on the other hand. So this is quite surprising that inspired being a poet, writing in verse form, he still criticizes poetry or art, and on what grounds he criticizes, we have discussed. The aim of his attack was not bad taste or poor standards, but art per se. Means that he was on the focus that art should be of some fruitful effect on the society. It will mold the society on a better way. Even the best of art and the highest of taste were misleading and weakening for the moral fiber in the Platonic scheme. So, there were some flaws in his theory, which were later rectified by Aristotle. And Aristotle's theory of mimesis is also of great par with Plato's theory of mimesis. He criticizes the preferences of people on imaginative literature to reasoned discourse. So he was always in favor of having some reality, not having some imaginative skill, that the poets or the artists, they are depicting the imaginative skills, the imagination that is under the spell of muses, so they should have some reasoned form, some reasoned description to be given to the society, so that it could cause some good to the society. So that's all, and here are some questions that came, and as you see that most of the questions, they are related to art, but they are framed in a different way. So basically it's the mimesis theory only that we have to discuss, and I hope everything is now in a clear way, because all the three spheres were very complicated. They were having so much little difference that we can't differentiate, but I've tried my best to differentiate it so that it's gets the concept is clear in everybody's mind. Thank you so much. Thank you.